Hey guys, so the teleporter broke, so I'm having to climb into this episode. Usually I climb out of episodes. Oh, what's that? You like the shirt? Check my merch store. You could pick it up. So, link in the description below. So anyway, you guys have been asking me for a long time to do how to place gear, and I guess I'll start that series. And the best place to start is with nuts. Nuts are called passive gear. Why? I don't know. I guess they don't have any moving parts. But people have been using nuts since the dawn of climbing. They've been around for a very, very long time. So I'm going to show you how to place them. I'm going to climb around this cliff, find some unique spots, and show you how I place them. So that's what we're going to do this episode. Now, to start off, you can see I conveniently placed my big nuts over here and my smaller nuts over here. You want to have your nuts in order. You don't want your nuts dangling all over the place in a big mess. If they're in order, then you can get to them a lot easier. They're convenient. You can know where they are. If you're really good and you're really clean, you can know where they are with your eyes closed. So let's see. Looks like this crack here. You could definitely place a nut before I take a fall. So let's find a good placement to place this nut. And I'll get a nice zoomed in image of the nut, placing the nut in this spot. I know right here, when you put a nut, you want it to sink in real nice. And one of the biggest things you want to do is you don't want to place your nuts like this. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. What I meant by that was you don't want to place your nuts in just willy-nilly, and you don't want to just throw them in the crack. You want them to be placed with intention. So a big mistake is putting your gear way out of sight where you can't see it. You want to be able to see where you place your gear. So you want to be able to inspect it to know if it's good. So here, I can see this nut would sink in this crack in a ton of nice places. So I'm just going to slip it in here. And finding the right size nut is and just getting it perfectly in the first time doesn't often happen. It takes quite a bit of skill to find the right size. Just look at the crack and be like, oh, okay, this is the right size nut for the job. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at it, throw it in there, give a couple yanks. That looks good. When you place a nut, you want to consider the direction of pull. So this is good. If I fall, it's going to get pulled straight down. So that's right where I want it. Grab a sling. Now the reason you want to put a sling on it and not just a beaner, because the way it's set, you don't really want it to move as the rope wiggles around. Clip in, get your beaner, clip in there, bam. That looks good. So let's take a closer look at it. Now when you place a nut, you kind of want it to go in like a puzzle. And a really good nut placement goes in like a puzzle, like that. You see that? Now, this is going to get pulled straight down this way. And there's just no way for this nut to go anywhere because the rock gets smaller than that piece of metal. So when this gets pulled, it's just going to get tighter and tighter, and there's just going to be no way to get it out, okay? What you're going to want to do is after you get it in there, you have your other pieces like this, and you just give it a good yank down. 1, 2, 3. That sets the nut. So now the nut's very unlikely to come up and out unless you give it a good yank up. Now, when it's your belayer's turn, he's gonna want one of these, which is a nut tool. Because once you set it in there, it could be quite awful to try to get out. So if you have one of these, you could get it underneath the nut or work it out or whatever you need to do. Give it a good tap, good taps, good couple of yanks, good couple taps to work that good nut placement out. And once it's loose, it should come right out just like that. That's a really good nut placement right there. I'm really happy with the way that is. Let's go look around and try to find a couple other different types of nut placements. Because cracks come in all kinds of different shapes and sizes. Here's a great example of a horizontal crack, a good horizontal crack placement. So the piece goes in and it's wider on this side and it's smaller on that side. So if we could find a way to wiggle this piece back, because it's bigger in the back of the crack and smaller out here. So what we want to do is work our piece all the way to the smaller section, right over here. Give that a couple of yanks. And that's really set in there well. So there's no way to get this piece out of here. It won't pop out of this crack. The only way we're going to be able to get this piece back out is popping it to the back of the crack and working its way back out. And that's a really good horizontal. Here's another great example here. When you go to find a crack, you want to make sure that it's not going into something loose. You want something solid, not something that's going to just fall apart on you. So this whole block here is loose, and a great way to find that out is you give it a tap. You hit it. Makes a hollow sound. Stuff that's not loose, there's no hollow sound on it. You give things a tap, and it shouldn't make any weird sounds. Okay, lastly, we don't want to forget that there's another geometry to a nut. It's not just thin along this side here. This one has a nice curve, but it's also thick. So with a crack like this, for example, we could try to get it in here, but it just slides right out. If we turn it sideways, we work it in, we have something in there that holds. So we don't want to forget that we have another geometry to a nut. Here's a little bit of a closer look. It doesn't really work well this way, but if we get it in there just right, get it real tight in there, we could get a really solid piece. Well, sorry if that video got a little bit nuts, but that's the way it goes when you're placing trad gear. So if you like that, comment, like, and subscribe, and next week I'll do tri-cams, which is also pretty interesting. If I missed anything, just leave a comment down below, a question down below. I got an awesome community of pretty good climbers here that'll answer your questions, and I'm really good at answering questions as well. If you're brand new to climbing, my best suggestion is find someone that would mentor you and teach you how to climb and show you the ropes, literally. So that about covers it. Josh Perry, climbing out of here. You know what's really nuts? Copperheads. Do not want to get bit by a copperhead. That would be a big ouchie.